Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's guest, very, very special guest, the owner of Oakwyn Brokerage in Greater Vancouver. One of the more high-tech, up-to-date, let's go, brokerages in Greater Vancouver. Really, really cool dude. He has a really cool real estate story, and he is great and powerful. Michael, you. I want to continue this podcast talk because it's so much fun. Sure. The cool thing about podcasts is you don't need to spend a lot of money to start.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And we actually did a podcast early days, man. That was probably like a year and a half ago.
Right.
Like how to start a podcast. It was just me talking to Carl, being like, okay, well, where do you get the mics from?
So your guest didn't show up and then you... Carl, you're the guest.
Carl, think fast. Go.
Yeah, had a few of those.
Did you do it all yourself at the beginning?
I started, so basically our company Oakwyn started a podcast, just a couple of years ago. But before that, I just wanted to make sure that I enjoyed it because I've gotten so much value from listening to podcasts and I just enjoy them so much. You know, as realtors, we just like sit in the car, like pretending to work all day. So, like it's good to kind of like, so podcasts are just kind of like my passenger in the car so that I wouldn't have to like wrestle with my demons or whatever. Yeah. So like I basically, so I started my own podcast called the Michael You Podcast. It's now defunct, but I think you can still find it somewhere. And basically, we started that. I started that and I wanted to do like 1 year of that to make sure that we actually enjoyed it. So first started just on my iPhone, with the voice message recorder. And I was kind of just putting up episodes and stuff like that. And then leveled up to, I just kind of like Googled podcast startup gear. So I got a Blue Yeti mic and then I got like the road gear and stuff like that. And we were just talking, Carl was just saying that he's a bit of a gearhead. So you guys got the good stuff here. I was like, I thought we were going to be talking to your iPhone. Denny.
Carl, even early days.
Yeah.
Carl really cares about audio quality.
Yeah, totally.
And he's got me to care so much about it. And it's so interesting now, like been doing this for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And obviously paying attention to audio a lot.
Right.
In the last couple of years. Listening to other podcasts that have poor mics or poor audio is so challenging.
Yeah.
And you almost discredit it immediately.
Or people are at different levels, right? There's so many factors and it's so hard to get through.
Yeah. Even just like the static of the poor mics or whatever. If you turn slightly away the poor mics, you don't even hear anything anymore.
My biggest thing for the longest time was bleeding. So like his voice would be picked up by your mic and then you would get this echoing thing.
Oh, right.
That's what happens when you get cheap mics.
Yeah.
And these made it a lot better.
Yeah. So the plug for Shure, I'm sure we'll be sponsored by them soon. The Shure mics are just like awesome. They're just incredible. And they make you sound silky smooth. Do we sound silky smooth?
It's funny. As soon as we moved to we've probably had these for a year and a half, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of comments like, man, the audio is so good. It sounds like a real professional podcast.
Right.
Hey, it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The audio quality that I had at with my own podcast was very poor. And everyone was just like, some people were just like, I can't listen to this. It's garbage. And I was like, well, I just want to see that I actually enjoy doing them. And I didn't kind of put it together for an audience and I didn't edit them. I'm not a tech guy at all. So my assistant kind of just like put them up every week and I just wanted to make sure that I enjoyed doing it for like tested it out, tested the waters a bit. And then, it's been good. So our Oakwyn podcast, I think Carl mentioned that it's at 87 episodes now. Not bad. Sidney Crosby's number. Yeah.
People ask me always, how do you even start the podcast? Like, where do you post it? And my answer is, I have no idea.
Has Carl been with you since?
Carl knows.
That's day one. Yeah.
Here's Carl's email. You can email him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we have our version of Carl, which is, and they all have beards actually.
That's so funny.
You guys have like a Leonidas thing going on. So basically, so we have our version of Carl, which his name's Braden. His company's called Podfather Creative. I don't want to, and he's so he was a music producer, and he transitioned fully now just to do podcasts.
Cool.
I think we were his first or second podcast that he was producing. So yeah, kind of cool. I really love the medium though. I think it's really good.
So obviously you've enjoyed doing them and you started the Oakwyn one. What is the Oakwyn one for? Is that like showcasing other realtors? What is it?
Right. So the intention of that podcast is basically giving really valuable information for agents that have been in the business for a while or are getting started in the business, to get to know a little bit about our culture as a company, but also, some tips, tricks, and like, what do they call it? Valuetainment or what are they? Infotainment or whatever. So that it's, so that basically it can, they can kind of learn in a fun way. So so it's been pretty good. Yeah. And it's been surprising in terms of how it's benefited our brokerage to, agents kind of come in, they kind of know what to expect in terms of like, our core values and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So it's good.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how, like, and if realtors that are listening to this kind of stuff are not putting themselves out there on social media platforms and things like podcasts, I would strongly recommend getting comfortable with one of these mediums. It doesn't have to be every single one, but one of them. Because we have the same, you're talking about your brand and Oakwyn and attracting talent and high producing realtors to the brand. It's the same with clients in our business.
Yeah.
People listening to the podcast now, like people that call us, we always ask, where did you hear about us? Thanks for calling, whatever it is. And it's so funny that it's like a laundry list of items now. It's like, well, we've been following you on social media. You provide a lot of value for new buyers and whatever through the industry. And we listen to the podcast and we get a lot of value out of that stuff. And it's really cool to see. I'm 7.5 years into real estate now.
Right.
At the beginning of my career.
Very young buck still.
I'll take it. I feel like a seasoned vet, man. Oh man. I feel like one of those old grizzly guys.
And back in my day, we didn't have podcasts. We listened to the radio.
It is kind of cool though. When I started in 2014, that most realtors were not using social media very well, at all.
No, not at all.
Podcasts weren't really very popular yet. Right. So all of this new stuff has just kind of evolved. And I feel like it's kind of fun to be at the beginning of it with our industry anyway.
Yeah. Well, to embrace changes, to embrace new technology, is a really, important thing to do for businesses. But again, I think it circles back to what you enjoy doing and what's going to kind of relate to your strengths in a sense. So I like doing podcasts because I'm no runway model. And I like having, great conversations with people and kind of that's what we like. That's kind of my method for social media. But I know what you're saying in terms of creating, when you talk about your clients, kind of seeking you in a variety of different platforms. We call it at our company creating a communication ecosystem. So basically, where people are living, they're living, on Instagram, Facebook, through their podcast in the car. If you get a phone call from Denny or James or anyone in the team, or a text or an email, and and live, and sending a mailer or something like that. So you want to create kind of a what do they call it? A multi-platform kind of experience. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
Because you don't know what a potential client is going to use, right?
Right.
Like a lot of people are starting to listen to more podcasts, which is great. I think it's a really cool, informal, long form conversation where you can actually explain things.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Instagram is a 30-second, 60-second clip where you're trying to shove a ton of information into like 16 words, right?
Exactly.
Just trying to throw something at like multiple
microwaves.
Offers in like 20 seconds, go.
Yeah.
Right? Versus like you can actually explain the nuances of a realistic situation in your industry if that's the type of podcast you want to go after or whatever it may be. And it gives you a chance to show your personality.
Yeah, totally.
And people fall in love with your personality.
Yeah,
right?
or they bitterly hate you, right?
Hey, and that,
which like you've experienced as I'm kidding.
Or not for everyone.
Yeah, I think it is the kind of creation of I like the long format because that's when I feel like I really get to know somebody, and you can go in depth. Whereas I think the culture now is really in a lot of ways like very microwave, very kind of like 7-second like vines, and even like I love YouTube and stuff like that, but everyone wants a 1-minute video and stuff like that, or a 2-minute video, but it's it's hard to kind of really get to know someone and try to pick up their personality and their values and stuff like that. And I feel like podcasts is a good way of doing that. Yeah.
As you can probably tell, I'm pretty obsessed with the platform too, because I now have 3 podcasts and we've been doing it for 3 years. What I love so much about it is real life conversation that is not put on in any way, not edited, it's not a production. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like so many other mediums right now, and so like obviously Instagram we use pretty heavily in our business and personally. Sure. But even like the Reels section of Instagram, it just seems like everyone's trying to put on a show. Yeah. Right? It's like a production. I agree. And it's not my personality. You talk about like going after your strengths, and to me it's like real life situations and explaining how you kind of work through that nuanced situation in a contract, in a conversation with a client or whatever. Yeah. I agree with you. And I feel like, and I've been grappling with the idea of, social media and kind of that, because it is a new medium and that type of addiction elements of it. And also, the forms of like comparison and toxicity that occur when you're, scrolling through Instagram yourself or Facebook. Yeah. We're all human beings. We can't help but feel a bit kind of that, hey, this like Denny's got like nice abs or whatever. Like, oh shit, I gotta work out. By the way, I'm just kidding. You've been working out, I can tell. But I feel like the audience and the people that listen to podcasts are really like your big advocates. They're kind of like, they bought in. There's less of that comparison. Like I feel at least there's less of that comparison, and it's a bit more of a like a deeper level of relationship in a sense. And so I've been grappling with that as well, because I was like embarrassingly emailing Denny to say like, hey, because I just had a kid. I was like, I don't know if I can make it out, Denny. Can we Zoom this? Because like, I was trying to spend more time at home, but I'm like, should I expose her to social media? Should I expose like a child to this like powerful medium? Because it's more pervasive than like the television, and the television was pretty, like I was hooked on TV when I was a kid. So I'm like, man, I don't, and like, I'm not sure what, and we're just conflicted right now about whether or not to have screens at home and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't have any kids. Yep. So I'm along. I can tell by your plays. Okay. For those of you that are listening and not watching on whatever YouTube or whatever this is, Denny's place, I'm going to like describe it to you. Is like, it very like, it's very minimalist. I'll take which that. Is good. It is Spartan. My guess is that he didn't choose his stuff. Did you choose it? Oh, you chose it all. Oh, okay. Wow. So, but it is very minimalistic, and I can tell no one has ever touched that stove to use. Hey, or do you like to cook? Oh, no, do you like to go? You just clean. I mostly use the barbecue, to be honest. But I will slightly defend myself. Okay. I've been here since February. Okay. We have had a really busy year, so yeah, totally. I may put some blame on that, but I do intend to buy a couple more pieces of furniture. Right now, my TV is sitting on a $60 IKEA table that I stained myself at my first place in 2012 when I bought my first condo in New West. Cool. I bought that IKEA table, put it together myself. Didn't like the color, so went to Walmart and stained it. And I feel like that thing is going to live with me forever. Yeah. Wow. But I need to put the TV on something. That's an heirloom. That goes from generation to generation in the Dumas family. I haven't found like a nice TV stand thing that I like. Mm-hmm. And I've searched a bunch of times. Yeah. And I got this IKEA table so I can be selective. Yeah. You know what? Like I despise shopping. Like I just hate shopping. I hate shopping for anything. I hate shopping for clothes. And so like for me, I like, my wife does it all now, but even before, when I was a bachelor, I got an interior designer, buy everything.
like I had, like, you know, obviously when I first started, I didn't have the ability to hire people, but, you know, later on I had like someone that was like, did all my clothes shopping and everything. Yeah. Cause I just hate it so much. Just lose patience in those places.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I want to ask you about that.
Sure.
On my first comment though was this summer I went to Metrotown.
Right.
And I spent I spent $900 or $1,000 on clothes. And my girlfriend looks at me, she's like, wow, that was a good day for you. I was like, yeah, that means I don't have to come back for 2 years.
Exactly.
It's just like a couple pairs of jeans, t-shirts, a hoodie. You're like, well, I needed a few new things and now I don't have to come back anymore.
Yeah, totally. You just stock up.
Yeah.
Like, don't try anything on. Just like, it looks like it fits. Yeah, it's good enough. That's great. How long have you been with your girlfriend for?
Probably going to listen to this, so I should say the right number. Just over 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. How was the how did you guys meet? What was the story?
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So her family's from the island.
Right. It doesn't start with swiping. Okay.
No. My sister lives on the island with her family, two kids and her husband. My sister's a personal trainer.
Okay.
My sister has trained Jordan. Jordan's my girlfriend's name. Jordan and her family for like a couple of years.
Oh, cool.
And so she made a connection.
Oh, okay. So with your sister.
Very old school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like an arranged. So how was the first what was the first meeting like?
I had just broken up with a previous girlfriend like a few weeks
so on the
before
rebound, got it.
And my sister Monty sends me a
Charles
text.
Barkley.
Sends me a photo. She literally just sent me a photo of a girl, Jordan. Yeah. I was like, okay, who's that? Like, what is this? Who is this? She's like, it's Jordan. You should meet her. She's got a really nice family.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so I didn't want my sister to set me up. So I just messaged Jordan. I found Jordan on Instagram.
Okay.
And messaged her.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, apparently Monty's trying to set us up. I've never met you before. Anyway, that's how it started.
Wow. That's great.
So we chatted for a few days.
Is that your big sister, little sister?
Big. So
you come from a big family, right?
I have 5 siblings.
Whoa. So there's 6 of you.
Yeah.
I
have 4 older siblings, and the 4 together have 15 children.
Whoa,
I have 15 nieces and nephews. My dad is one of 11.
Wow.
I have 54 first cousins on my dad's side.
Yeah.
Is that big? You said you had a big family.
That's huge. Okay. That's bigger than that's bigger than me. Yeah. So I have there's 5 of us, so in total for my brothers and sisters, and my dad came from a family of 5, and each of those kids had 5 kids of their own. Except for one who is gay, and it's my Uncle Frank, and we love Uncle Frank. And I grew up in a big family. I'm the middle child, so we both have middle child syndrome, so we're just ignored. So that's why we need to talk on podcasts.
Exactly.
Makes sense,
right? I was a really quiet, shy kid.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is my revenge.
Oh, yeah, really? Why was that?
For hours. I don't know. I was always like a little bit introverted as a kid.
Okay.
I was very obsessed with sports.
Okay.
And so in sports, I didn't have to talk to people. Right? Like basketball was the thing that I was obsessed with.
Okay.
And I played in university for a couple of years.
Oh, wow. So you got up there.
But I was obsessed. Like me and Carl went to high school together. Carl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys were on the team.
You probably saw that Carl's 6'8".
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So he played basketball with us.
Right.
I'm shocked that Carl is still my friend.
Really?
I harassed the shit out of him in high school, trying to get him to come to like gym with me every morning at 6:30.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He says harass. I say make me better.
At the time, it was harassment though.
So you guys would go hit the gym like before school started?
I was in the gym probably every day before school from grade 10, 11, 12.
Wow. Is your whole family like that? Because your sister's a personal trainer.
Cool story.
Yeah.
So there's 6 kids in my family.
Right.
All 6 played university athletics.
Wow. That's good stock. You have a good constitution.
Fairly.
Yeah.
It's funny because my dad's like 5'7".
Oh, really?
And my mom's 5'5".
Wow.
So they're like very short.
But yeah, what happened?
I don't know. I'm
skipped a generation.
Like 6'2". Yeah. My grandfather's 6'2", 6'3".
Oh, okay.
Or was.
Yeah.
So maybe I got.
And you were born here, or were you born?
I was born on the island in Victoria.
Oh, on the island in Victoria? Okay. Sweet.
But my family moved over here when I was in kindergarten.
Oh,
pretty
okay.
early.
Yeah. But where are they from originally? Like, what's their kind of...
So my dad...
What's Dumas? Like, what is Dumas? Is it...
It's Dumas.
Dumas?
It's French.
Ah, it's French. Right.
So
That's why you're so rude. I'm kidding. Yeah, that's why I'm cheap.
I do interrupt people.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
My dad's dad is French. My dad's mom is Irish.
Oh, okay.
My mom is 100% Polish.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it was my first time in Europe a few years ago. I never visited Europe. And yeah, I became really fascinated with like all the different cultures and stuff like that. And yeah, I visited a few of the countries there. It's really cool. Yeah.
Carl's family is 100% Polish.
Oh, yeah?
Straight from Europe. Yeah. Pure stock.
You know, when you like doing renos. Yeah, I have I have a few Polish family clients, and they love in my experience with, they just renovate, they love their home, love the family, and yeah. All
Construction business right here.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a lot of pride in their homes.
Yes,
yeah, totally.
Any Europeans, it seems like, regardless of, they did a reno 17 years ago, and it is the greatest reno of all time to this day.
Really? And it still looks the same, right?
No. I'm just saying, like, European clients.
Yeah.
You know those people.
Right, yeah.
There's like 65-year-old like Croatian
keep
couple.
Everything like mint.
They changed the countertop 46 years ago, and it is the best countertop of 2021.
Right. That's so awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned you were introverted before, and then how did you kind of break it? Like, was that something always the same way? Or?
I learned that the world does not... What's the word I'm looking for? The world does not give to the introverted people.
Oh, okay.
You need to be more introverted to grow.
Extroverted.
You need to be more extroverted to grow.
Right.
Correct. So I forced it upon myself.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do to force it? Like how did you realize that?
Real estate was huge for me. So I'd say when I was 19 to about 25, I bartended and worked in restaurants.
Okay.
That kind of pushed me originally out of my shell.
Mm-hmm.
You have to talk to people.
Right.
People sit at the bar, you have to talk to them, right? And you kind of get comfortable and like understand that, people are weird, right? Mm-hmm. I think there was a big thing growing up, maybe in a very conservative family, like very Catholic family.
Okay. That your family was,
yeah. That like authority, you need to respect authority. And if older people talk to you, they know more than you. And so it was just like bred into your head that if someone's older, they know more. So I was young, I didn't know a damn thing. Versus getting into pubs and like talking to people, no one knows anything. That's like one of my life philosophies now is no one knows what they're doing. We're all trying to figure it out.
Right.
So I think that kind of got me out of the insecurity of like watching everything I did and, oh my God, they're judging me for this. So that kind of helped me get out of that. And then real estate just like exponentially grew that.
Yeah.
And it was like social media really helped me, to be honest.
Oh, did it?
Instagram was a huge help. When I started in real estate in 2014 with Jamie, I would not do a property video.
Right.
I would just start sweating. So Jamie's like, here, you do the one, clip the mic on your shirt, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can't do it. You're better than me. Just do it.
Right.
Anyway, so Instagram got more popular. I started using stories and I just told myself I had to talk in front of the camera for 15 seconds for one story 4 times a week. And after 6 months, I was like, man, this is so easy. This disappears after 24 hours. It doesn't matter what I say. And also, no one is watching. So who cares?
Right.
And of course, you have a following and people watch and whatever.
Right.
But
it's good to kind of get that in your mind so that you don't worry about perfectionism or anything.
Get it out of your head. I think so many people care so much about what other people think. And the reality is nobody cares about you. Right? That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Right. If you say something dumb on Instagram, someone will watch it and be like, swipe to the next one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was kind of like my progression, let's say, of.
So there wasn't like a trauma or a turning point. It was just kind of like it was more of an evolution.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I just told myself I had to be better. Like I started being what I thought was pretty good as a realtor in the first couple of years, but I was so uncomfortable in front of a camera.
Sure.
And I just thought that was what was going to help our brand grow longer term. And it was almost like a business decision, I guess. I'm just like, I got to be better at this. So I'm just going to do it. Do more of it.
And so that was just exposing yourself and experience and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being comfortable, being uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah. So did you take any classes? Did you take any?
This is my class, man.
Oh yeah.
This is the coolest thing about 2021.
Sure.
Is I am a firm believer that formal education sucks.
Oh, I agree.
There you go. For a lot of things, right? If you need to be a doctor, like you need to learn the things that you're actually going to use.
You don't see the shaman.
But for like 90% of people, getting a regular bachelor's degree means absolutely nothing in your career.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think this thing that everyone has access to now is just like the greatest form of education of all time, whether it's listening to podcasts, whether it's watching YouTube videos, just like self-educating. And I think I just kind of took that upon myself.
That's awesome. And I think, it's always a quest to improve yourself and get better and, think about what you're weak at or what you need and what's required of you and kind of, turn your interest towards that way, even if it's like not your natural instinct. Cause even for myself, with, same as you, I would say, we have a lot of similarities. You're taller than me though. And you were good at sports. I was good at chess.
I wish I was good at chess.
So, but for me, I think once I knew that I needed to kind of break out of my shell and, I had to do more I wasn't a very strong communicator. So to learn how to do that, I kind of went outside of the box. I did a lot of non-formal education, but I would look at, the local colleges, brochure. So there's a college in Vancouver called Langara College.
That's where Carl played basketball.
Oh, there you go. What's the mascot for Langara?
It's a falcon.
A falcon. So we're both falconeers.
Falcon alumni.
I wish we could do like a caw or something. You're a caw. So they have like this, I live reasonably close by there, and they would send these like adult education continuing study type of books around, and I picked one up and I took like a communications course and a public speaking course, and then I took Toastmasters, which I did I think I did a year of that. And then I took an improv class. I took a singing class. Lots of improv classes, lots of singing classes, lots of, and I did stand-up comedy class. Yeah.
So this was just a personal effort to be more extroverted?
Yeah, to learn how to communicate better and to speak in front of people and not be so nervous and do things like podcasting, which I like. I love listening to podcasts and I wanted to participate, but obviously kind of you have your fears of, oh my gosh, no one's going to listen to, I'm going to stumble and be terrible and, not be able to carry a conversation well. And I really had a struggle carrying conversations previously. That was a big problem with me because I would ask how are you? And they'd be, I'm great. How are you? Good. Uh-oh. I'm out. I got nothing left. So learning how to communicate effectively, using tonality and kind of different types of stuff. Cause I used to speak in a very monotone. And so, and I had a life coach that said, you speak so monotone, you need to go to a voice class. And I was
because I think I speak monotone. No.
You have a deep voice, but I don't think you speak monotone.
Yeah.
It's funny when I watch Instagram stories back when I'm talking, I feel like, man, it put zero emotion into that. This is literally what goes on in my head.
I think we're our own greatest critic though. 100%. We're our own, no one's paying attention. It's funny. I'm like, oh man, I could have done this better, but everyone's just like, that was great. And I'm like, oh, okay. Sure.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Can you be a successful introverted realtor?
Danny, you want to?
I'm going to say yes to realtor and no to business owner. So
Interesting.
I think real estate is such a strange industry that there's so many different people that can do really, really well in this industry. There are so many different people in our society that are buying and selling homes that are going to be attracted to a different personality. And I think there's a lot of people out there in Greater Vancouver that are not attracted to me and my personality. And that's totally fine because I am who I am.
Yeah.
But there's clients that will come through like open houses or showings of our listings that the realtors just have very different personalities. And I can see that client just matches with that personality. And it's so much about, our job is so much about like the relationship and trust the client has in you. And if your personalities don't jive, often it's very difficult to build that relationship and trust.
So there's no right personality.
As an individual realtor, yes.
Makes sense.
As I think of myself now and me and Jamie more as like, we're running a business. We sell real estate, but our business is like marketing and selling real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So to run the business, I think you need to have some sort of outgoing personality trait that attracts people to the business.
And if you're introverted, it's tough.
Yeah.
What are you? What do you think?
I hate to disagree with Denny, but I actually do believe that you can be like have an introverted characteristics and still be successful in entrepreneurship or be successful as an agent specifically. Mm-hmm. But the focus has to be different. I think it would have to be really, for example, when it comes to being a real estate agent, really building those deep relationships with people versus many surface relationships with building. I have an agent in the office who I worked with very, very closely when we first got started, and he was struggling to get his business off the ground, and he was a very introverted guy. And he was trying to do open houses, and he was trying to be something that he definitely was not. And he won't mind me sharing the story, but just learn more about him. And I got to know him better. And I said, hey, you know what? You need to really focus on building these deep relationships. And you know a lot of people, but you're not reaching out to them and trying to become greater friends and allies. And you're not supporting their businesses, so why should they support yours? Type of thing. And so what he did is he built really deep relationships with several of his friends from high school and from college, and he would go for lunch with them. He would take them for coffee. And then he just started, and then we talked about, okay, we need to spend the extra mile, and like we need to crush and have an amazing experience with these clients.
Yeah.
So give them great opportunities to purchase properties, purchase investment properties, give them great service, give them great information, and just blow them away with how it closes. It's like package the key well, like do all the detailed things that he liked to do anyways. And so his business went from $30 some odd thousand in 1 year, and then he hit six figures in his first year, and then it goes from there. Now he's, one of our top producers at the office, and, he has this really great, deep inner circle. And he I do understand what Denny is saying about building a team in business. It does require some extroversion because you need to communicate with your team members. They may rely on you for lead generation and stuff like that. So it does require that a bit for entrepreneurship. However, I think, depending on the scale of it, I think you can always, you can always build a team that might have those elements a little bit more than you. And I think you can be an introverted leader if you wanted to.
I would argue though that the advice and the suggestions that you were giving him were to be more extroverted, right? To reach out to your friends, right? To take them for lunch. Like
that is
those
true.
Are more extroverted qualities.
That is very true.
Yeah. I don't think you need to be a social media superstar to be a good realtor or a business owner. You don't have to. It can absolutely elevate your business, but you don't have to be.
It is, you're right. It is a people business.
Yeah.
But I think there's a misnomer that people need to kind of be this super charismatic, boisterous, larger than life personality, running 24-hour marathons. You might know someone that does that. Like you might need like some superhero guy, like, you might have that kind of image that you need to be that. Whereas, yes, it is connecting with these individuals, but I think he was connecting and just listening. He wasn't really hard selling his services and being really helpful and opportunity oriented and value oriented, and in that sense. And I think that there's room for that. For sure with businesses. But again, just like Denny, I kind of thought that, hey, perhaps if I gain these good skills, in communication and things like that, it would benefit my business, which I think it has. So yeah. So for myself personally, yes, it has. But I do think that there's room for that, because I've seen examples within our brokerage of many introverted agents doing very, very well. Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Are most of them single agents though?
Most of them are single agents, and then most of them are single agents. Let me think of if anyone's an introvert.
Because my thought is, just to be able to manage and lead people, you have to be a little bit, like, for lack of a better word, louder. You have to be you have to communicate better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to give advice. You have to be able to give constructive criticism at times. You have to be able to fire.
Yeah.
And if you're unwilling to do that, like, firing sucks. And I don't think I'll ever get over that initial emotional reaction of, like, these meetings are just bad. They suck. I feel like I'm playing God in this person's world. Like, it just feels bad every single time I go into it. But the only reason I've figured out how to do it and I've gotten through all of them is because in my head, I'm thinking, I'm running a business. All I care about is how this business is going to keep growing and how we keep providing really good service to people. And if the other people in my business, Monica, Lucas, like other people that are in the business, are affected negatively by this person being in the business, they have to leave.
Yeah.
It makes sense in my head. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it does make sense. I think everybody, specifically when it comes to parting ways with staff or parting ways with team members and things like that, which we've had to do in the past as well. I kind of frame it in my mind, at least, about, what's best for them and what's best for us. And so, and if it's not best for them to stay part of the team, it's not best for us to kind of, as a company, to kind of continue to work with that individual, then it's better to be honest and to just kind of, and there's a better place where they're going to have more opportunity to learn and grow, and then a better environment and culture for them to be a part of. So I think, trying to frame it in that perspective, maybe that's delusion, or maybe that's kind of like, maybe it's not, but that's kind of how we frame it with ourselves. But there's a book. Have you ever read Good to Great? Jim Collins, not Phil Collins.
I can't remember the last time I read a book. To be honest.
Really? You know what? There's no shame in that. Especially if you like to listen to podcasts and stuff like that. They're all like kind of mini tomes. There's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, which I actually suggest a lot of business owners to read. You might want to listen to it or read it. And it talks about a level 5 leader. And so what that means is, then when Carl was talking about an introverted leader, it kind of alludes to that, like these companies that go from, middling to great companies have typically been driven by a level 5 leader, which is more of a servant oriented leader that probably has a less like charisma and a bit more of kind of the hard hat mentality, really consistent, listens well, very empathetic, wrestles with ideas versus personalities, that type of stuff. So like there's a good kind of, that's a good example of and he's a like a statistician or something like that. So he goes deep into the analytics of these companies and like how these leaders really turned it around, and they had some more introverted characteristics than you'd think, because you'd think that it would be kind of this larger than life, like
Gary V.
Yeah, like Gary V figure, but they're not. They're like these like great, consistent hard hat people, right? So
I wonder though, is the world changing? Right? Like how long ago was this book written?
Right.
And when were these stats taken from?
Yeah.
So if that book was written 8,
90s,
9, 10 years. Oh, 90s.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're taking
90s
stats from
the early 2000s. Yeah.
You're taking stats from the last 10 years or whatever they're looking at. So they're taking stats from the late 80s to early 90s, which had zero internet.
Right.
No social media, no podcasts, right? I think the world is so different now than it was. It's we say this on a lot of podcasts, but like I feel like we're one of the luckier generations because we got to grow up in our childhood that had no internet. And then we get to use the internet to propel ourselves in our industry and in business. So we kind of got to see a little bit of both sides. Whereas like, I don't have kids. I don't have personal experience with this, but I do have a lot of nieces and nephews. But like kids growing up with social media now, it's just a completely different ball game than when we grew up.
Right.
You know, like a fun thing to do is go play basketball at 6 a.m. You know, like,
just go outside, do whatever, right?
Yeah. We got MSN chat. Remember MSN?
I remember it well.
ICQ.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Those things were those things were like grade 6 or 7 for us. Right. So we were like 12, 13 years old.
But like you'd have to go to your computer, you'd have to dial in your modem, right? So you wouldn't have access to it 24/7.
Right.
Totally. And at that time you didn't have cell phones either. So it was like you're leaving school for the day and we're like, okay, we're going to meet on MSN at 6:30.
Right. I think you're correct where the business landscape has changed because there's a kind of a loud platform that is such is a great tool when it's harnessed correctly, which is obviously the internet and social media and a lot of other avenues. But I feel like, not to be the old man, but I am an old man. Like I still think human nature is like, and we serve human beings, and there's elements of like that are going to be with us. You know that people will follow, but people will be attracted to, individuals that, have really strong value systems, be clear communicators, have a great vision, are hardworking, are, methodical, high integrity. Those types of traits are very, I think are crucial for long-term, and if you're that magical person that can harness both, oh my gosh, you're like a very dangerous.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Individual.
Is that in the 80s and 90s, you didn't have any platforms to show that off.
Right.
But now you have Instagram, you have podcasts, you have all these things that if you are, a person that is running a business that really cares about people and is trying to do the best for their client, it's such a valuable opportunity.
Oh yeah.
To get yourself in front of thousands and thousands of people a week.
Totally.
Versus in the 90s, how did you do that? Was there any way?
We're dialing for dollars,
knocking
man.
on doors, man. That's it.
Yeah. I remember when I first started, I was knocking on doors, and I was cold calling, and that was kind of my primary methods and doing open houses, which was my primary methods of starting my business. But I think if I was to start now, I would, really harness the most high, like these tools that we're talking about. Right. So yeah, I think that is certainly valid, and it's a good thing for sure. Yeah. And I am excited to see where it goes. I do think for, this next generation coming up, there's some, because because I have addiction in my family line, and I have like that addictive personality, I'm very cautious about what I'm going to introduce to my kids, because, if she's anything like me, then once she gets into something, she's into it, and so like so we're a bit cautious, and you want that awareness to be able to know when to start and stop something, and you don't have that judgment when you're that young. And a lot of these platforms are devised and developed not only with engineers, but also with, psychologists, social scientists, behavioral experts to like continue to get you to continue to kind of get your dopamine hits. Right. And so like there's elements of, addiction to social media, which a lot of people, I feel a lot of people have. I think realtors specifically have a lot of it. Yeah.
Can you grab us 2 more beers? Thanks.
Yeah.
I think about that though. And I think like, again, I'm years away from actually having to make decisions on this stuff.
Right.
Because I don't have a kid.
Yeah.
But I think of like, here's the 2 kind of drastic differences. One, you give your kid a phone pretty early and you're educating them along the way of how to use these things responsibly.
Right.
These are cool tools that can help you in your life, whatever your name is. 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old.
You're not naming your son Denny Jr.?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
You're not that big of an ego. I thought you were bigger.
Oh, man. I don't think you know me that well.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Carl might differ. But like, this is how to use it responsibly. This is how I use it for my business. This is how mom uses it for her, you know, showing off whatever she wants to do. Versus like, no, you will never touch a phone until you're 17, you know, like whatever it is, go ahead. Doesn't matter. Because that's the way that my parents were. My parents were no, and there was never an explanation. It was just, nope. Dad, I really like this girl. I want to ask her to hang out after school. Nope. Dad, I want to play on the senior team. I'm better than all the kids on the senior team. I'm in grade 9. I'd like to play on the senior. Nope. Like that was it.
So that was the culture of the family.
100%.
Yeah.
And I hated
Where
it.
did that come from?
Just like extreme conservatism, whatever that word is.
That's a word.
Like very religious background.
Right.
Growing up without the internet. Like we talk about it all the time. Like old white people are just so close-minded. Like, it's just like, no, this is the protocol.
Right.
And I almost go the opposite way now of like anything that has protocol and procedure, I disagree with automatically. Right. That's in my nature.
So you're a bit
now.
of a contrarian then.
I'm not 100% sure what that word means.
Yeah, like you go against the grain. You think of the contrary.
I want there to be a reason for things to be in place.
Right.
Right.
I think
I don't like walking into a business and then being like, you need to take off your shoes. Be like, why would I take off my shoes? This is like a clothing store. Right. That's our protocol. Well, why would you have that protocol? Yeah. Not sure. The boss told me to say that. Like that's not okay with me. I need there to be a reason for things that happen.
Yeah. I think from a survival and a generational perspective, I think it was this authoritarian style of leadership was a very popular way of leading in their generation, in the baby boom generation specifically, because there was a bit of struggle to survive, and there was that alpha kind of like element of it, and it's because I said so is like. I heard that growing up as well. So, totally. Yeah, but I do think that it is, your childhood does frame you, and kind of to either continue that tradition on with your own future family, or to kind of make you realize that in many cases to go sometimes people go too far in the opposite way. And there's typically like a healthy, moderate middle where, I think understanding the personality and the characteristics of yourself and of, your unborn child.
If it ever happens.
Yeah. Well, you like if all your brothers and sisters have that many kids, you're gonna fuck up one of these days.
But it also means I have no pressure from my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
They already have 15 grandchildren.
Right. So like, there's elements of, knowing yourself and then knowing kind of that character of that little girl or guy. And so, yeah. Carl, do you have kids? No. Yeah. So I'm a new dad. So I only have like Soph is 4.5, 5 months old. Yeah. My daughter.
That new?
Yeah. Crazy. So she is like fresh out of the box. I guess I could say it that way. Yeah. So, all right. So she's, so it's pretty cool seeing seeing her develop and things like that. And I guess you become keenly aware of, of the decision you're making and kind of, because it has more impacts than just on yourself potentially, and also maybe just your girlfriend or your wife. But there's like another living being that's dependent upon you to like kind of, yeah. It's changed me a little. It's changed me quite a bit actually. Yeah.
On that social media conversation, like, have you guys started talking about that?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have.
And
definitely
what's
have.
what are the opinions? Like, what are the options? Because in my head, it's like one of two things. You either are just saying no for no reason, because I think it's no reason, because I think there's a lot of value in learning how to use it properly. Or it's, here's how to use it responsibly. These are the things that like we would like you to be aware of and be cautious of. But I don't know, how does that actually work?
I think when you make something taboo, it becomes its own, like it has its own energy. It's like this lurking energy. So, what we've done what we've kind of thought of was during like daytime hours. We do kind of, but we're very cautious about the amount of time. So there's this app on my phone. It's called Screen Time or something. It comes automatically with your iPhone. Screen Time, FaceTime or something like that. Screen Time. So I try to keep mine below 2 hours a day. And as a realtor, that is very hard. So
impossible. Yeah.
So, so basically, and we kind of have that limit. So, and I want to be cause I had a problem before. I was up to 6.5 hours a day on the phone, and I've kind of brought it down and down and down incrementally more. And I felt that I had a very, very hard time being present with people, because when you have like addiction in your DNA, you can't help but like reach, and you can't help but like be compelled, and kind of like, even though I'm having conversation with Denny, I'm like my phone, I got to like return to the,
someone just texted you.
Yeah, exactly. So, knowing yourself is a key thing, but I think from a family perspective, we're kind of monitoring it, trying to stay under 2 hours on screen time, and keeping it within the daytime hours, because my wife is a bit of a hippie. So she like believes that the blue light has impacts on sleep and how your brain functions. So, we try to stay away from all screens, in the evening hours, and early morning hours. So so that's something that we kind of do. And then that allows you to have like the family time and stuff like that. And so, so like, that's kind of how we're monitoring it right now. And again, it's only been 5 months, so that might change, but we're pretty dutiful, when it comes to, my wife's beautiful, I'm dutiful. But like, we're trying to kind of like, keep this up, and it's been going pretty well so far. Yeah. Kind of how we're limiting it very respectfully. But I know, like, I have friends and clients that their kids, they're always on the iPad. They cannot tear the kids away if they want to, like, it's like their babysitter, their nanny, and everything, which I disagree with as well, right?
Yeah, it's almost unfortunate to watch, right? Like when you see kids at a park or like in a client event or whatever, and all they're doing is just staring at the phone, or out for dinner with your friend and they have a 2-year-old and all they're doing is watching.
Well, isn't that what
cars or whatever?
That's what makes it so, like, to me, that's what makes it so dangerous, because if a kid has an option to play on a bouncy castle but he's choosing instead to be on his phone, there is something really seriously like addictive about that freaking phone.
Totally.
Because like, if you're a kid, like you and I as kids, if we were like 6 years old or whatever, and you see that bouncy castle at a playground, we're on those monkey bars nonstop.
Dude, we had a client event at Steel and Oak like we usually do it every summer, right? But we couldn't do it last summer. So 2019 summer. Yeah. We had a bouncy castle. Right. And I wanted to run in that thing as soon as I saw it.
Exactly.
And I did. Yeah, 100%. It's a weird, it's like it's 100% a parent fault, right? If your instinct when the kid cries is to just give them watch a YouTube video, watch a whatever, whatever's popular
it's very,
now,
it is tough because we're not in that, like, and it's funny because I violated many rules in which I thought I was going to adhere to as a parent. And so, I can't say that it's perfect. However, like, and so I understand exactly kind of those parents as well. And, it's tough, childcare is not as available for people right now, which is a real shame. And, it's everyone's doing things differently about, multi-generational living and all the rest. Like, I grew up with my grandparents and they basically raised us. And so like, that was very helpful to learn respect and like old fashioned, values and stuff like that. So, so it just depends. So like, it's tough because, I have a friend who's, she's a single mom, great person, like awesome, nurturing, friendly, like awesome person. And, I could see it's just so tough for her. Like, what is she going to do? Like, what else is she going to do instead of like plop the kid in front of the TV or kind of like to get even like, to just do a load of laundry or something like that. Right. Like it's almost like I can see that as being like a safety thing too. They're going to be on this. They're not going to be killing themselves. So like there's elements of that too. So I'm just kind of like, so I sympathize totally, but I think it is something just for my own family that I am very acutely aware of. Yeah.
I think that's the key. As long as you're aware of it and you understand that it can be a problem, it can be addictive, it can lead to some bad habits in the future, to just be watching and to be maybe limiting instead of that always be the solution.
Yeah. Well, right? I think when you're like, and that's a funny thing because I was talking to my kid sister who's 10 years younger than me, and she's like, she sees me kind of hanging out with my daughter and stuff like that. She's like, Mike, if you had a kid 10 years before, you would not be doing this. And I was like, really? And like, so I'm the older dad guy. And I was like, man, I'm actually like, a part of me is really glad I had, like, I kind of, because you're able to kind of accumulate resources and get, have the intelligence and the kind of objectivity to set things up well for yourself prior to kids coming. And it whereas many families, like my dad and mom had their first kid at 21 years old. And then like, here we are, like 5 kids later, like before they're 30 years old. Right. And they're just like, geez, if I had 4 kids before I was 30, I would be very different than what it is now, where I have time and energy, I have time and perspective to even consider these things. But if I was in my 20s, I would be like, here, go on my BlackBerry.
I feel like in my 20s, I was trying to figure everything out, and I used it as an opportunity that time is what I had, right?
Right. Yeah. That was your advantage.
Like, I didn't have a kid. I didn't have very many responsibilities, if any. I had a mortgage at my new ass place that I think was $872 a month.
Yeah.
So very little in terms of responsibilities, but I just used it as a time to grow professionally, right? Like work as hard as you can, build a little bit of, like, establish yourself a little bit. And then now in my early 30s, I have so many more options. Yeah. Right. Versus if I had a kid when I was 24,
those options,
like, my priorities would have been shifted so differently. Right.
Right.
Versus like working 16 hours a day, maybe it's 8.5. And now I'm spending time with a kid and then making dinner, whatever. Right. Sure. I guess I'm on the same path as you.
Yeah. I think, sorry. I'm 39.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. So I'm 32.
Right.
A kid is not in my near future.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm 39 when I have a kid. I don't know if I ever have one.
Yeah. So I think, it just, it depends on everyone has their own experience. And I know agents and people that had children in their early 20s or early on in life that have done exceedingly well in business. And they've, they always say, like, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. So like, these people could get, stuff done. Let's put it that way. And so, I think it just depends, but just in my own experience, like, being kind of a more of a cautious person, personally, like, I kind of wanted all those ducks in a row prior to kind of like thinking about it and just like planning and preparing for it and kind of like, so which has been I think good, but at the same time, do I have the same energy that I did when I was in my early 20s? Probably not. But I do know myself much better, so I kind of which I didn't know myself as well in my 20s. So like, that there's advantages there for sure.
It's like an ever evolving equation, right? Of like how to balance work with your, relationship, spouse, whatever it is, with your family, if you have kids, with your friends. And it changes yearly for me. Early in my career, first 5 years.
How does it change yearly? Why does it change yearly?
Because I want it to change.
Okay.
It's up to me, right? It's up to me what I spend my time on. And early in my career, it was like 100%. And I was probably close to 100%, was only worried about business, right? Was only worried about work.
Yeah.
And now that's shifted a little bit. I still care a lot, and it's maybe like 85%, but I also care about the way I feel. I got fat in 2017.
Okay. What happened?
I work too much.
Okay.
I went from being a college athlete.
How many lbs did you gain?
I'd say from my heaviest, I've lost about 35 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
I think my heaviest was around 220.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And now I weigh about 185. Good. Whatever the math is there. Is that 35?
Yeah.
So I just didn't care about anything other than trying to work and get established in this business and trying to make a little bit of money because I didn't have any getting into this industry.
Right.
And that one thing I wanted to chat with you about was like your first year.
Sure. Yeah.
But like now it's kind of shifted to, I still care a lot about our business and the growth of our business and the people in our business. And like any way I can assist the realtors on our team to have more successful years is what I'm so pumped about. Yeah. But I also really value that like hour a day that I take for myself to go for a run or go to the driving range or work out in my basement or whatever, right?
Right.
Versus 2014, 15, 16, 17, it was 0% on that. And now having a kid, obviously, I don't have a kid, but I'm sure that just like keeps evolving and you're just trying to figure out like what is the balance that, keeps my wife happy, keeps my business and like the people that work with me happy, keeps my kid happy.
The thing that matters is keeping your wife happy. Then everything else figures it out somehow.
Yeah, but keeping your wife happy though involves some sort of like energy out into the business to make money so that you can afford to do the things that make your wife happy.
I think obviously the human experience always changes, specifically as you evolve and you enter into different roles and phases, being the startup realtor to, being a partner of it and then being like a team lead and then being a spouse or a boyfriend, being a good friend to Carl, even though you rag on him.
I've been much better the last 3 years. I'll give him that.
That type of stuff. Like, of course, there is going to be an evolution of life and kind of the things that you're doing and the priorities that you have. But I think you always should stay. And I've always tried to think about staying true to, who I am as a person and my, my values and the things that are important to me. And those things are constants, whereas everything else is there is some variability to it. But, having those core like things like that I kind of, those are my rocks that I kind of hold on to is kind of, is still like important to have. And I feel like, that's, even though like your role changes, your social and economics change, like things change, but I think you should still, I always want to stay true to like, the same guy I was when I was 10 years old or whatever. Yeah. I think that's the best version of me, honestly. I
have a group of friends from high school. There's 10 of us that we've stayed really close.
Cool.
Whatever we are.
That's awesome.
What are we, 32? What do we graduate? 17. So it's been 15 years?
Yeah.
15 years out of high school. We hang out with each other once every 2 months, let's say.
Oh, cool.
And we still have a group chat. Like, we still talk all the time. And when we get together, it is literally like we're just kids again.
Yeah.
Like, we're having beer pong tournaments in someone's garage or like whatever it is.
Right.
But it's cool to have those relationships from like back in the day that
totally
kind of reset you almost in a way.
Yeah.
Right. Like waking up every morning and you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar home sale, and then you're dealing with like a new client and running a business and educating people on your team to grow their business.
Yep.
And then you're meeting your buddies on Friday night and just kind of like decompressing. Right. It really like puts things in perspective almost, right?
Well,
like they don't give a shit about how much money I make versus how much money Adam makes versus the kid that Adam just had or whatever. Like, it's just decompress almost.
Yeah. I think that is super valuable to be able to, you know, share your life experiences with people that are genuinely and authentically, they like you as a person and your personality. And there's something to be said. It's funny. Like, there's something to be said about like having history or some historic like context with people, because they've seen you through, like, you know, when you looked like an idiot, when you asked a girl out that wasn't even that good looking, she said like no, or when like all these different types of experiences that you've gone through. So they kind of know who you really are. So they don't, the persona of the Denny persona is like, they can read right through that bullshit. Yeah. And it's just like, I know you're an idiot. And so am I. So like, and that so there, I think that levels you out a lot. And I have friends, like, what's really fortunate about, you know, the ability to work at Oakwyn, which is our brokerage, is the leadership team is, a lot of it is comprised of like my family and very, very close friends. Like my sister Arlene, who's I'm a partner with at Oakwyn. You know, obviously we grew up together. We worked together at coffee shops. Like, you know, we used to work out together. We're like we're just so close. And then, you know, my Morgan Brown, who's our, you know, our president of the company, she's like, you know, like a sister to me as well. And we're so close and have a great bond. And then our CFO, Alfred C., I grew up with him when we were 7 years old. And, you know, we've been friends ever since. Our front desk, Tiffany Wan, she gave me my first job. Like, crazy. So it is a family business. My kid sister, Liz, is our head conveyancer. And the other staff we have are like family to us now. They're just, you know, many of them have been with us since we started the company, you know, 7-8 years ago, Oakwyn, that is. But yeah, and it's been, and a lot of some of the agents that, you know, are with us, I started in my first year in 2006 being a realtor. They were there too. And we, you know, they joined our company, you know, after seeing that we weren't going to like screw it up. After a few years, they're like, okay, we'll join now. So it's been a really cool journey for sure, you know, and so, you know, it's still like ongoing and continuing and evolving and changing. And it's still like, you know, and it's still an exciting adventure for sure.
It's interesting because they, like, when you have groups of friends or family members that you're really close with for a long period of time, they get to see the growth too. And so like these high school buddies always hate on me for Instagram just because I share a lot, right? And I do a lot of video. Sure. And they'll comment, like every time we see each other, someone will comment on like something stupid that I did in a property video that week or whatever. And my comment back is always like, yeah, but you're watching.
Yeah, I think it is nice to see when your friends start doing well. Like, that's just the hope that I have for, you know, my like motley crew as well. Yeah, is that everyone does so well, like, and they are healthy and happy, and they're feeling like they're growing. That's what it's all about. And like to be able to work with so many of my family members. You know, I know a lot of not only agents, but also like business owners are like, oh, they're really cautious about working with their friends and family. Honestly, I've only had a positive experience with it so far. It's never gone bad. So yeah.
Part of what I love so much about this industry is there's so many different avenues of opportunity.
Oh
right?
Yeah, totally.
Sure. Resale is one, pre-sale is one, like commercial is one, investing in commercial, starting a brokerage.
Right.
And it seems like you're doing all of them.
Oh, well,
Right?
not all of them.
You're an investor.
Yeah.
You own a brokerage. You run a real estate sales team.
Right.
That's a lot. At 39.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like, it's fun. It's kind of like a game. I don't put a lot of pressure. Like I like, you guys are athletes, so like you guys probably like pressure. I despise pressure. I'm like, oh, like I freeze up and stuff like that. But for me, I like strategy and planning and team building and kind of stuff like that. And it all kind of is interrelated. And I feel like, so when it comes to, for example, starting out as an independent agent and then starting a sales team, it was just really logical. It was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I like serving clients. It's worked out well, but my bandwidth is starting to get diminished to a point where, like you, my health was also diminishing. My relationships were diminishing. So what was I actually working for in the first place? And then that's when you need to bring on good people to support. And then it's like, wow, it's fun to work with other people in doing this. And then, oh, it's fun to see them succeed and do really great things. And then it's building that out to a point where you're really comfortable and feeling that you're in a good place. And then, we started Oakwyn just to, show other people that there's, there's a path to building a great independent business, but also, I didn't feel that the brokerage environment was one that was conducive to helping really good-hearted people succeed in the business of real estate, of professional real estate. And I really wanted to change kind of the culture of what a brokerage was and what it represented. And kind of remove I know this is going to sound really cheesy,
That's okay.
but remove the transactional relationship that an agent had with their brokerage, and also change the transactional relationship that agents have with their clients and make it a transformative relationship. So when an agent goes with their client, it's not a transaction, it's a transformation. They're changing from a condo to a townhouse, so they're ready for a family. They're transforming their lives. And it's such a key and important time in someone's life. It's so crucial that they have the right stewardship, they have the right agency, they have the right fiduciary representative, they have the right guardian, they have the right negotiator, they have the right marketer, they have the right sales. And you're kind of wearing all those hats at the same time. And it's such a crucial and lovely moment in someone's life, and that we get the honor to be a big part of. And so we want that to be a transformative, wonderful experience for the buyers and sellers. But we felt that in order to do that, the agents needed to have that experience with their companies, with their brokerage, with the people that were going to support and nurture their talents and their business, which is what a brokerage does. And so essentially, that's kind of, altruistically what our marker has been, as to how do we kind of create this type of transformational relationship with our agents, where it's like, hey, by interacting with a company, they're either making their business more efficient, they're driving more revenues, they're having a great experience, they're having great service, they feel like they're part of a community, they feel like they're with people that care deeply about the industry as a whole, they have respect for the profession, and kind of bringing everyone together with this philosophy of peer-to-peer learning. Like, hey, let's learn from each other. We'll learn more ourselves by teaching others, versus, that philosophy. Whereas, we didn't feel that. I personally didn't feel that in my former brokerages. And when I was looking around just as a kind of an agent, I didn't find that there was anything like that out there. So we're just like, we're going to start one. And openly we never thought it was going to grow. We never thought we'd have the ability to work with great people like you guys and stuff like that. But it's kind of gone that way because we cared about the quality of the experience, right? Which is kind of where it kind of the essence of it is. And so, wearing it's really just one hat, which is like, working with people closely, communicating a clear vision, strategy, that type of stuff. That's what I like to do. And then having good teams that kind of support the overall vision and the culture and where the initiatives that we kind of come up with. And I'll tell you, I don't come up with the best ideas. I probably come up with the worst ideas, but having the best people around you that are super smart, and then it's just like, wow, things just like can really take off, right? Yeah.
It's funny. There's a lot of follow-up in what you just said there.
The monologue.
First of all, the brokerage model sucks, and I have a lot to say about that, and a lot of feedback for that.
Mm-hmm.
Two is, when people ask me what I do for a living, I always have a challenge answering, and it always comes out as like, well, I guess if you're going to put me in a box, I sell real estate, like that. But in my head, I'm thinking the two most important things that I do are I'm a relationship manager and I'm a firefighter. And what that firefighter thing means is I have to solve problems every second of every day.
Right.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
I wake up and there's problems and we have to get to the bottom of the problem and find a solution.
Right.
That's all we do. And we're relationship managers. We have to deal with people's emotions. Residential real estate is such an emotional buy and sell that whether psychology is the right type of term to use or not, whatever it is, but like we manage relationships. One thing I want to come back to that you said though was you said, this sounds like a cheesy answer. And then you explained yourself. And what I love so much about real estate and the people that are really good in it and the people that are passionate about it is the way they explain themselves is almost an emotional expression, right? It's like we care so much about the relationship and like helping people and wanting to see people grow, but everyone thinks that's cheesy when they say it. But for some reason, listening to it and like the way I express it, it causes this weird emotional reaction to me. So I'm listening to you describe what Oakwyn is about, what your family and like your friend group has put together and what you are so excited to present to Greater Vancouver. And I'm like, I love it. It's awesome. That's how I think every single day about like building relationships with clients and people that reach out to us.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like when people reach out to us, it's not like
an honor.
Oh, you're buying a $500,000 condo? Yeah, we don't have time for you. It's like, oh man, let's help you grow. Yeah. This $500,000 condo is going to be the first step and it's going to go so well and you're going to love everything about us. Yeah. That in 3 years from now, you're going to have $200,000 worth of equity because Greater Vancouver is insane. Yeah. Right. And then we're going to help you get to the next step. Yeah. And it's going to be this fun journey that we go on together. Right. But the only way it succeeds is focusing on relationship. Yeah. First. That has to be. And there's so many like people I've met throughout Greater Vancouver, especially early in my career where I was confused about the whole thing. Like, what am I supposed to be in this role? Right. I'm selling you a house, a condo. I'm helping you purchase a house or a condo. What am I supposed to do here? Like the first couple of years, you're trying to figure it out. And there's people that you see that you think are really experienced in the industry and that are doing they have the image of doing a lot of transactions. Right. You think, oh, well, that guy just treated that lady like a piece of crap. Yeah. Is that success? Is that what it is? And then you get to this totally. Right. But like we see it so much in real estate. Real estate is such a variable of people that are in it. And there's like a small portion of people that are doing things extremely well that I admire and that I would ever use to sell. I always say, if I was ever to sell my house and I wasn't a realtor, right? Based on what I know now, there's maybe 5 groups, teams, individuals that I would use based on what I know about how they treat people, how they market, how they deal with multiples, like the whole thing. Totally. It's just a funny industry, but like, I guess the point I was trying to make was as you're expressing that, it is exciting. And I think we have this natural reaction to always think, what is actually going on in our head, what we're actually trying to achieve with this business is cheesy to some people, is corny, whatever, but it's a real thing. And I think that emotional reaction that actually is very powerful in terms of the growth of the business and in terms of like how people think of you after the transaction.
Yeah. And that's a key thing, you know. It's the and you hit it on the head, where it's the people that you you know, again, it's like a cheesy thing, but you know, we're in the people business. I know we just happen to sell real estate, and so it's really you know, it's treating people with a lot of respect and value, and really like you know, when you say relationship manager and firefighter, that's a cool way of putting it, because not everyone, kind of like you mentioned, the firefighter, I kind of like distill that down to like, you know, a solutions oriented person. Because like, you know, you grew up in an environment where it wasn't just from what I've been hearing from you today and listening to you today, you know, where it's kind of like an authoritarian style, which is a control based style of dealing with issues and problems, right? It's like, no. Yeah. And a lot of agents handle things like that. You know, they're like, there's a fire burning. Okay, block it off. Yeah. And let it continue to burn. Like, you know, whereas, okay, let's like pour some water on this thing, right? Or let's figure out the best way of attacking the root of the problem, right? Which is a solutions-based, you know, solutions-based business. So there's 3 ways of handling issues. Number 1 is by pretending it doesn't exist and just like hopefully it goes away itself, which a lot of people do, right? Like,
which is probably, you know, the worst option.
Yeah, which is what I would say 90% of people do that. You know, there's a big problem and they're like, well, no, it doesn't exist. And so, and then, you know, 9% of people are like control freaks. There's like a problem and they just control everything around it, but the problem will exist. And then there's that final, like that 1%er that looks at a problem and it's like, okay, how are we going to figure this out? How are we going to arrive at an amicable solution where everybody involved comes out, you know, satisfied? And so like looking at it from that angle, and you know, that's a refreshing and a good way, good perspective of looking at, you know, your role in your business. And yeah, kind of like, thinking about it in that way is really cool. Yeah. So that's it's really good. And, you know, philosophically it, you know, jives with kind of, you know, how we do our business as well, where it's the same kind of methodology. Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting. I'll say we, but I'll share my perspective rather than our team's perspective as a whole. The brokerage model sucks. And it's I often describe our industry as archaic.
Okay.
Most brokerages were powerful. They were built on the idea of what happened in 1973. And what happened in 1973 was there was no such thing as the internet. There was a brokerage. And if you were part of this brokerage, you got to see the listings that agents at that brokerage had.
Right.
And there was a binder and you would flip through them.
Right.
Well, that's not the way it works anymore. And most brokerages today have just kept the model going because people have to be part of a brokerage. I mean, like with the brokerage that we're with right now, we met with one of them, like one of the owners in the summer, and they asked like, how do we help you? And I said, I don't think you can help a business like ours. You have some systems in place and some teaching tools that are very, very valuable to new people. And that's very valuable for some people. But when you get to a certain level, like the brokerage is just a divide almost. It's just it's like a bounce back thing. So like there's a program, we submit documents, someone bounces back stuff. You know, one check mark was missed on a FinTrack, something dumb that could easily just be done. Right. But it's just like, it's almost like we're butting heads. We're our own individual entity and we just have to be part of this thing. And there's no value that is being added to us. We are the ones adding value. Right. And
I'd agree with you there. Yeah.
It's interesting because as now, like someone who runs a business and is running a team, my thought process every day is like, how are we adding value to the people on our team? Is it assisting them in contracts with knowledge and experience and whatever that may be through a transaction? Is it providing leads for them? Is it like mentorship? Is it like just being around to answer the phone, to give a second opinion, whatever that may be along the way. But there has to be a balance. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And it just seems like the real estate industry, the way it is in Greater Vancouver, is built on this system that is so old that does not work anymore. Agents provide value to the brokerage. The brokerage provides very little value back.
Yeah, I think, you make a lot of really, really great points. And, you have yet to experience our brokerage. You obviously came from athletics, you came from basketball. And so you played with people that are really good, right? And
I played against some like stupid studs out of the States. I remember playing Iowa State, I think.
Right.
And there was some kid, I can't remember his name. He was like 6'6",
okay,
220, and the most athletic human I've ever seen in real life. And I had to guard him.
Yeah.
Like, this is a losing formula. Like, this is not going to help.
Did you play well?
What was my option? Like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, it's different. It's like Carl playing against your daughter in a game of one-on-one basketball.
Right.
Who's going to win?
Yeah.
Probably Carl.
Right. But have you ever played on a team where you had some really good players on it? And did your game improve or not improve?
It's interesting. So, like, as a young kid, I was so competitive.
Okay.
And I always wanted to play against better people than me.
Sure.
Because I wanted to be challenged, and sure, it's fun to score 30 points in a game.
Sure.
But that means you're playing against people that are not as good as you, and you're not getting better.
Yeah.
So I was always focused on like, how do I get better? How do I keep getting better? Because I know I watched a lot of like NCAA basketball when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So I was like, watch these kids that are taller and more athletic than me. Like, how do I compete with them? I have to play against better people. So I don't know what your exact question was.
Yeah. So like, did you level up by being surrounded with these?
I think it forces you to.
Yeah, it forces you to, right? So, that's a big philosophy that we share at our brokerage. So a couple things. I agree with you in a lot of the kind of the genesis of a brokerage was, we contain the listings, we contain the leads, we're parsing them out to agents at percentages that were at the time astronomical, but obviously that business model has changed. And so how brokerages add value to agents is going to be done in a variety of different ways. And I think how we deliver the value to our agents at this point, we are evolving is through our philosophy of specifically for big teams and for high producing teams is that philosophy of collaboration and open learning, where your team doing 100 plus sales a year can learn from my team doing 100 plus sales a year, and we're commingling ideas. We're having this open value system of like, hey, I'm not jealous of Denny and James. They're not jealous of me, but we just want to get better.
Totally.
And there's a commingling of ideas, efficiencies, what's working with your marketing, what's working with ours, so that we can come out with a better product and a better experience for our clients, and also for us to be able to do better for our families. Yeah. And so but it's a philosophical thing, right? And it requires a couple key components. One is to really have the right people at the brokerage, that the agents specifically. So we have, I don't want to be braggy, but we have really good top teams at our brokerage, and we all share information. This vendor's great. This is the CRM we're using. This is what has been pulling for our social media campaigns. Like, this has worked for us. Like, what's working for you guys? And then we learn from each other and how we can improve and get better as collaborative colleagues. Because with, I don't know, I think it's 50,000 transactions in our board. Like, we're rarely going to bump into each other for, you're doing your 100 something, I'm doing my 100 something. We're rarely going to bump into each other. And when we do, we typically just co-listed, whatever. And so, by playing on an elite level team, you yourself rise your own standards, your own personal standards will. And I found that with myself, and not only, it's being a bit biased by being one of the partners of the company, but my standards have risen because of the standards of our agents that are in the brokerage. And I've learned a lot. I've learned about different revenue streams for my team. I've learned about better efficiencies for my team. I've learned about better structures and things like that because of a philosophy of open learning and sharing, which was very, brokeraging previously in my brokerages that I was in before we started the company was, very hierarchical, very, the owner and the office was very closed door, blinds down, protecting all information and highly competitive and really not everyone was just kind of bragging about what car they were driving type of thing, which is a very different environment than ours, which is where everyone's on this mission to grow and improve their own practice and be a kind and good-hearted person at the same time, and not veer away from your values. And we are not bashful if there's an agent that's not in keeping with a high integrity practice, to ask them to not practice at our office anymore. And to us, it's not really about the dollars and cents. It's about kind of creating a great culture and a great community and continuing to hopefully change the industry for the better. So that there was just this, did you watch the CBC news thing about the thing that happened in Ontario? Did you guys watch that, Carl? No.
I would say I watch very little mainstream news because it's all garbage.
Yeah.
But no,
just extreme right-wing news.
Oh man, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Or left-wing, I don't know. So
the States is almost worse.
Oh my gosh.
Going through the presidential election, whenever it was almost a year ago now, crazy. But going through that, just how one-sided it was unbelievable.
Well, it's
to
just
watch.
so there's a strange black and white and a dichotomy there, right? And I think it's partly a cultural thing, a bipartisan system, or sorry, not bipartisan. Is it bipartisan like the Republican, the Democrat system?
It's two parties, and
parties, and
on
that's
one side or the other.
Yeah. And so, whereas in Canada, it is a bit of a spectrum. So you get a multi-party system. Yeah. I still think, personally, and this is I think proportional representation is the correct way of running a country. But anyways, so there's some, there's elements of that in there. And so off topic a little bit, but it can swerve. So there was an article, not an article, a segment on CBC News about agents that were kind of deterring their clients from going to a discount agent for them to purchase a property. And kind of swerving them away from that listing. And, there was hidden cameras, and it was an expose. And I'm just man, that is just so that's the kind of stuff that I really just want to, it's gotta end, And I was all I volunteer at the real estate board, in the development committee. And I'm a brokerage owner. Why would I want to do this? But we should increase the fines. We should make it harder to we should make it harder. We should be more strict with penalties. And I was we should make it very, very difficult to practice unethically in our industry, and we got to get it out, right?
It's too easy to get into the industry too, right?
It is too easy to get in, and we are both benefactors of it being pretty easy to get in. 100%. And so I think that there is a natural selection, and there is a kind of there is a natural selection that happens. Yeah. And, I think what, when I put on my resale hat and my, I'm we just need to provide a better offering. Yeah. We can't worry about any competition or anything like that. We just got to focus on providing a better offering, because once you start kind of complaining about this and, these outside factors that you have no control over, it's kind of like
part of the reason is there's
death
zero
knell.
education. So when someone gets licensed, literally this is what happens. Good luck to you, sir. That's it. There's nothing. There's nothing about like running a business. There's nothing about what is actually in the contract that you're writing for a buyer or a seller.
Ooh,
There's
you haven't been with
nothing.
Oakwyn. Yeah, because our office, we have a program called Oakwyn University, which teaches agents.
It's still probably, so I'm sure it's better than most, but it's still probably not real practical advice. And this is based on my experience alone. I haven't been at Oakwyn.
Right.
I haven't been through that university.
Sure.
Probably won't go through it. So you can tell me about it. But my experience getting in, man, was so bad.
Yeah.
There was literally nothing.
Mine. Terrible.
It was terrible.
Mine was awful.
Shots fired at the real estate board of Greater Vancouver and the council in real estate. There's the education process. They force you to take, 3 classes plus legal update plus privacy, whatever. There's like 6 classes they have to take every 2 years, and they are just a straight waste of time. If there was real practical classes led by you, led by someone who, I'm just saying like someone like you,
okay.
Someone who does a lot of transactions, someone who runs a business, someone who actually knows what they're doing versus a lawyer, right? A lawyer hasn't sold real estate.
Right.
Someone who sold real estate 25 years ago and now is a teacher. It's different, right?
Right.
I literally just finished mine. Sorry, I'm pointing to the table because I sat there through 6 classes for 6 days.
Right.
Going through this stuff. And it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
If the education process was a little bit different, whereas practical Q&As, I would get so much more out of that personally.
Yeah.
If you ran a Q&A and I got to be like, Michael, I know you do a lot in project sales and you work a lot with developers. How does that start? How do those relationships start?
Sure.
How do you put together your marketing package versus like, here's our new privacy form.
Yeah.
You have to get the seller to sign here.
Right.
It's just a waste of 6 hours, right?
I think, there certainly is a better way of delivering it. And I think some of so it's a kind of pass the buck mentality in a lot of ways, because the council, technically the brokerage is responsible to educate the agents. And then the council is also trying to just get some of the foundational items first. But it is really the responsibility of the brokerage to, in my opinion, it's the responsibility of the brokerage to educate their agents well and to help them to gain competency in being an agent. It's not the council or the board's responsibility to do that, in my opinion. So I think it's these classes, because of the prevalence of brokerages that really don't offer very much. I think the council has had to step in because of all the issues and problems that happened. I was talking to in our development committee about, we got to make it more costly and more difficult to start a brokerage and to own a brokerage, even to have these kind of things in place, and which is actually detrimental to me. But I think it's some things to kind of think about. So we're trying to think of, ideas. And so the development committee obviously consults the board, the real estate board directors in a variety of different things, mainly kind of the election process that they go through. But yeah, so I think it's, but it is a bit of it's a challenging thing to educate in that profession. Like, I have friends that are dentists and lawyers and doctors, and their professional development is always, they say pretty much a lot of the same things, because people are midstream in their career. They're not really as engaged, right, in some of the elements of their education. Yeah.
The Oakwyn University, not to touch on it too much, but who is it beneficial for? Is it beneficial for the beginner? Because we talk about this sometimes too. I classify realtors in 3 categories.
Okay.
The beginner, the person that is just starting, trying to learn a bunch.
Sure.
asking a lot of questions about how to write a contract, all this stuff. Usually takes you 2 years to get out of that beginner stage. Then there's the competent realtor.
Right.
And that's where the majority of realtors are. And most of them will never get to the next category just because they don't necessarily have the drive. They don't care enough to get to the next category. Okay. And the next category is rockstar, where you know a shit ton about construction. You are a negotiation expert. You understand how to deal with multiples, which I would say probably 96, 97% of realtors in Greater Vancouver have no idea how to deal with multiple offers. Mm-hmm. So those are my 3 categories.
Right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Denny, because Oakwyn University is for it's foundational learning. It's for beginners, and the beginner class is what we say. It's for newer agents. I think some experienced agents get a lot of value from it because there is an element of returning to the basics to help to refresh, some things you may have forgotten to do.
Sure.
So we actually have education on 3 different segments, which is kind of interesting that you mentioned. So we're talking the same language here. So we have our Oakwyn University, which is basically like a bachelor's program, right? And then we have our Oakwyn Master's program, which is for those competent agents that are, maybe on the verge of potentially hiring hiring an assistant. Yeah. They're in that 6-figure range, that they're competent agents. They know what they're doing, but they do want to get to the next level. And then we have our PhD program, which is for team leads and for busy agents, medallion plus agents, doing kind of doing quite a number of sales, because we have there's different problem sets for each of those categories. And so, obviously the beginner agent is looking to gain competency and knowledge, and just basic competency and knowledge, so they feel confident to be able to deliver the services of an agent. And we were there. I was there. You were there. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Dude, I was terrible.
Yes, so was I. And then, then you hit a certain level where you kind of know what you're doing, but you want to level up.
Yeah.
So that has different types of education, like when to start PREC, like how do you hire an unlicensed assistant?
Yeah.
Like what's your marketing spend look like for when you start making any money, right? On what percentages do you do and how do you allocate? Budgeting, this kind of stuff is not as crucial to a new agent.
Sure.
So, and then, when you get to PhD, it's team management, how do you maximize and optimize your administrative assistant? The most effective forms of marketing, that all the other team leads are doing. Introduction to working for developers, how do you build different streams of income? Investment for yourself through holding companies, and tax planning. There's very different problems that people face, and it's good to have people that have been there, done that, so that you're not siloed on an island trying to figure it out and fumbling it on your own. There's many. I wish I had great open learning people that were contributing with me. I paid way too many taxes that I should have not have paid. And if I had a really smart person beside me, but I was just figuring it out on my own, right? Because that's what agents do. They figure it out on their own. And if I knew someone Robin Barden in our office, who's just an awesome, hilarious, and intelligent guy, I wish I knew him when I first got started and with his team, and I would have learned so much more. And so there's different problem sets. So we kind of try to. Now it's different needs, because you're the team, where you're at, where, being in a leading team, a top producing team, you don't have as much time. So your time is so crucial. So we offer PhD twice a year. That's just two times a year. Mm. We offer masters every quarter. And then, Oakwyn U is every quarter as well. So, yeah, so it's it's something that kind of, we've developed because it's different, right?
I think the collab is really important. And even just in the last couple of years, I'd say I've tried to build some relationships with a few more top producing people, right, just to have a conversation with them, have someone on the podcast to talk for an hour, right? whatever it is. Then the relationship started. Then you feel like you can text them at any time.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Hey, whatever your name is, you guys are doing this. How did you start the, whatever it is, right? It's funny that Lee and Pete are someone that I really like.
Oh, yeah.
A team that I really respect.
Oh, yeah. They've been with us for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I have nothing but good things to say about them.
Mm-hmm.
Pete and I'd say like call each other 3 times a year.
Cool.
Like very rarely, but I remember he called me once this year. He's like, hey, there's this property. Cause, like there are a lot in East Van and Vancouver.
Yeah.
He had a buyer looking at a property in New West.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, there's this property in New West. It's listed at 1.2. What do you think? And I was like, what's the address? And he said it again. I was like, that place is a shithole. Like, I'd say like $1 million max. He's like, really? Seems like it would be like 1.3, 1.4. Like, nah, it's $1 million. Like, what do you mean? It's like, I got a buyer offering on that. It was like the day of offers, an hour early. I was like, yeah, there's 6 offers. I'm one of them. Sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah.
But I love honestly, it's an interesting industry that a lot of I'd say the majority are not very interested in helping other people. But the really good ones seem like they're very interested in just like elevating the industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the idea of our real estate podcast and like everything that we do with social media is just sharing things that we learned, things that we screwed up on, mm-hmm. how we are doing things why we do the things the way we do, and, successes and failures along the way to help other people that didn't. I got into the industry in 2014 and there was literally 0 resources that I felt like there was. Yeah. I was lucky to have Jamie to ask questions to.
Right.
But outside of Jamie, it was like, you're on a ship by yourself. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah. I felt exactly the same way when I first started as well. And, so, we're obviously not perfect, but we try to, we're trying to do those things and to not make it as much of a lonely business as it could be, mm-hmm. specifically when you first get started. And just kind of looking at how we can improve that whole experience for an agent with their brokerage. But I remember being a new agent. I remember being a new agent and kind of not having any support, going to my managing broker, and I was just kind of like a number to them. And being really disappointed, and and so we just try not to have that happen to our crew. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
Well, you probably can tell that I'm a tough critic.
Well, no, it's good. It's fun. Like actually, I only care about the truth. I'd rather just have it like known straight away. And so that we can fix it versus kind of like what I find is that people, I guess they feel pity on me or they feel sorry for me. So they don't want to, they're like, oh, that's good. But, I just would rather just be like, hey, your brokerage sucks. Yeah. This is why it sucks. X, Y, Z. I'm like, okay, we can fix it. Or that would be like better for me than like, but, people have been really nice. But yeah, I'm like excited to see how things go. Yeah.
We're excited to be a part of it, man. I would like to give you a slight compliment. Say you're one of the bigger reasons why we're moving over.
Oh, weird. I unbuttoned my shirt here. I knew it was something.
I think you're different in the industry. I think it's exciting. I think you're building a brand that is different, and it's if you're not going to start your own thing, you might as well be a part of what's the best thing out there, right? And in Greater Vancouver, it seems like there's a bunch of brokerages that do things very old school. Mm. And then there's a couple that are doing things new, and you guys are doing things the best out of the new.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that's a great compliment coming from a skeptic. And the thing is that we're not fixed to thinking that we're doing everything perfectly, because we definitely aren't.
And that's what attracts me.
Well, there's always room to improve, right?
100%.
Like even for you guys, people look at it from the outside and they're like, man, you guys are killing it doing your videos and cool stuff and listing this week and that this week. But you know what it's like inside.
What do I say when people tell me that? I'm like, we suck, man.
Yeah.
We're trying to get better. We're literally just at the start.
Yeah.
If you think of this as like 100-step ladder, we're on step 2. We're
Right.
slightly figuring it out.
Yeah. And that's how, our same is the white belt mentality. You just got to continue to improve and figure things out. But like for me, and maybe it's a bit different for you guys, but it might be the same. But being surrounded with the right people is so important because they can bring you into a different trajectory. I've learned so much by being surrounded with a lot of our agents at the office about, different revenue streams, different ways of looking at the business, efficiencies, specifically efficiencies, but also like, oh, I never even knew about this kind of like element of the business. And, then I kind of case study it and I test it into my business. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but, I'm glad that, you go through that experience and kind of see how things run. Yeah. But that's, it's really nice to see. So I'm excited to kind of get going on that train with you guys, which will be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Yeah. I don't know. Where are we at here, Carl?
Couple months away. We should go. You got to get home to the new baby.